How does it go? Story. Hello, I hope you're okay. It's Jerome Karaoke. Ish. Okay. Ish. Hey, what are you doing? Niaje? What's going on? Unadai aje? So, I've talked to you about me being a coach. I am now a coach. Yay! And I've also talked to you about what my journey to coaching, but I've not really talked about what coaching is. And this is what I'm going to do in today's video, okay? I'm going to explain. So what exactly is coaching and how does it look like? For those of you who know me, you know that I like to tell stories. So I'm not going to come and give you an explainer video. I'm just actually going to explain and give you a story of my life. And this is actually a story about the last time I felt powerless. It's a story about the transformative power of coaching. Story time! How does it go? Story. Story. So let me take you back to about 5 months ago. It's November of 2023, and I am an architecture student in my final semester. I am doing what in other courses you'd call your capstone project. So I picked a project for my thesis and decided now in my first semester I did a whole research on it, and then the second semester I was going to design a project based on those architectural recommendations, right? On paper, things were going well. I was meeting all my supervisor deadlines, I was attending all classes, I seemed to be moving along with everybody else, but the thing about it is everybody is doing their own project on their own timeline. So there's really no, say, yardstick, right? And I'd always had that nagging feeling at the back of my mind that due to the specific project I chose, as much as my project was a bit smaller than most people's, on a smaller area, I had designed on too small of a scope. And I had that feeling, and I really couldn't shake it because I couldn't really get the answer from anyone else. So I decided, what am I going to do? I'm going to play around and find out. And how do I do that? I'm going to go to class and I'm going to present my work and get feedback. And sure as Christmas, I went that day and I presented my work. And even by the time I was pinning up, I knew that everyone else has a lot more. I don't want to say a lot more work, but they were designing on a much bigger scale, right? And it didn't take long for the lecturer to just point that out, and he's like, by the way, listen, this is the standard that everyone should use. So I now got to know what the scope was. But now the problem was, it was about 2/3 through the semester. I think I had less than 6 months left. And here I am realizing I have to increase the scope and consequently increase the size of the project by about 150%. So the feeling that I'm getting is right now is that I am nowhere and I have to do everything I've been doing now 3 times the size and 3 times faster, basically. So you can imagine I was probably going through, a lot of questions and a lot of confusion in that moment. Obviously, the biggest question I'm trying to answer is, what should I do? What should my next step be? Where do I go from here? So that day, after the class, after taking myself to take something to drink, juice, yes, and some cake, I decided to call someone who I knew would be able to help me out. And that was my dad. Because you see, the typical person would listen to me in this conundrum and ask, oh yeah, Sautadu, but my dad is not the typical person. My dad is a coach, a certified ICF coach. And so I came to him with this problem. Hi Dad, listen, I am way out of my depth. I have to figure out how to do all of this work. And as much as I know how to do it, I really don't feel like I have it in me. It's the last 6 weeks, it's the last 1.5 months of my life in this course, and everything just is too much, right? And the next 1 hour of the conversation totally changed the trajectory of the rest of that semester. Okay, guys. So he began to ask questions. Questions that look like this. Number 1, so Jerome, paint for me a clear picture of yourself on the day of your final presentation. What do you want to see happen? How do you want to see it play out? So, Jerome, what's your actual goal, right? Not the one that you think I would be proud of. What's the one that you actually want to happen? Okay, cool. So that's your goal. Where are you now? Be very honest. What's your position relative to that goal? Can you quantify it? Can you give it a number? Like, what percentage readiness are you? If you were to be graded, let's say today, where would you be, right? Okay, so now that you know where you are and you know where you're going, can you figure out what is the best and fastest path to that destination? What are the activities or the paths that you could take that will get you there the fastest with the least stress maybe on your part? What are the highest impact activities that if you do, you are sure to get to that result? And not only just that, those are the opportunities, that's the path you want to go. What is the path you don't want to go for sure? What are the things you can't do? What are the tasks, the activities, the things you need to avoid? And lastly, so now that you have that very clear in your mind, you know what your goal is, you know where you are now, you know what the path is to get there. So what's your first step? What will you do? And not only that, how do you know you're on track? How do you know you're going the right direction, you've not swayed off? How do you know that you are actually on course to meet your goal? And more than that, who can keep you accountable? Who can you travel with? Who can be in the know and can be there to check on you, if you're meeting those checkpoints, right? So, you might want to know what happened. I got to actually get a lot of clarity. I set out the path. I wrote down what I was going to do. I plastered it in very big, on a very big paper on my wall in my room, and I got to work, right? And on the 15th of December, I was done. What's the 15th? Why am I forgetting? I think the 13th. It was the 13th. On the 13th of December, I was done. And about 2 months later, the pass list came out and I was on it and I got the grade that was the new top of the mountain for me, I guess. So it worked out. I avoided the burnout and the stress that typically comes with this kind of period in architecture school, and I was able to get it done. So yeah, after that whole story time, essentially that is what I define coaching as. It is a partnership between a client and a coach to get to a goal that the client has, that is typically something that they need to work through, that is not in their past but is in their future. And what the coach does is they give them the tools to clarify and move forward and keep accountable to what they say they do. So that's what coaching is in a nutshell. In the next video, I'll tell you a bit about what coaching is not, and I'll touch a bit on the different adjacent professions that can be confused for coaching and have a hint of coaching, but are not really coaching per se, right? And it's a good way to know what coaching is by knowing what it isn't, right? So stay tuned for that, and I hope you liked my story time. See you later. Bye bye. So I have this mountain, and oh yeah, yeah, what?